earlier this week, last week, kind of, the theoretical upside of the 2024 Steelers is higher with which of these two quarterbacks, Russell Wilson or Kenny Pickett. And I think both of us think, on average, Russell Wilson is the guy that you would like more, but maybe Russ's ceiling at this point in his career, Ken, is not a guy that could actually, win a Super Bowl championship, whereas Kenny Pickett is probably not great, but, still has that theoretical upside. So now we know it's not going to be Kenny Pickett. Because Pickett's now a Philadelphia Eagle. It's going to be Russell Wilson. You're holding the ticket. How do you feel right now about the Steelers? It is now Russ's team. # let's ride.
Different but the same, right? Different because instead of having a two quarterback competition, hypothetically a two quarterback competition where one guy maybe has a little more upside and one guy's average season's better, and let's see how it plays out. Let's watch them challenge each other, and the true best quarterback will start. Now it's it's just, even if Russell Wilson's bad, it's just him. That's kind of where we're at right now. I feel about the same. I don't for holding the ticket. For example, I doubt the Super Bowl price is changing. Put it that way. Dropped when we bet it around that time, and it hasn't really moved since then. This is not something that's going to cause it to go crazy because I think both quarterbacks were kind of viewed as the same quantity. I'm okay. It's you start to come to the slow realization that a bet that you made is tied to Russell Wilson being awesome. And, look, when you bet 100 to 1, you know that there's probably a good chance that bet's going to lose. And you just kind of now are trying to talk yourself into that this is what it's going to be. I guess we could talk about, okay, so it's Wilson. Are they adding? Is it trading Pickett because he forced it and now they actually want to add a quarterback somehow? And who might that be? I think there's some options here. But yeah, as somebody who was holding a Steelers Super Bowl ticket, I'd kind of I was resigned to my fate several days ago. That's it's Wilson and Pickett, and there's some upside, but it's going to be tough. And hey, maybe they make the divisional round, maybe they make the conference championship game. You can get a little equity out of your bet, and maybe you get a fun sweat here with what I still think they have a chance to win a lot of regular season games, regardless of whether Russell Wilson's the quarterback or not.
Sean Payton came into Denver, and that there was no way that this was ever going to work. And I said it last offseason that it wasn't going to work. And that's not to paint myself as this genius. It was just pretty obvious. The Steelers, this regime, chose Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin chose Russell Wilson. And I think if there's any coach that can get it out of Russ, it's Mike Tomlin. It actually is. It actually is. I think your bet is live, and I think this is going to be, that division is going to be fascinating to talk about as we approach the start of the season. So there's a little rational. I want to be a little irrational for a second. I actually want to do a little hot take BS here. This really pisses me off. You know what? I actually do want to make this a commentary on society today and young people today. Just entitled, spoiled brat losers who want everything handed to them. Now, Adam Schefter of ESPN, as part of his tweet, announcing the trade, Kenny Pickett goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, said that Pickett, once the Steelers said Russ is going to start, Pickett preferred to move on. So now he will guarantee himself a long time holding the clipboard behind Jalen Hurts, who got paid $11 billion and will be the Eagles starting quarterback moving forward. They are financially tied to him, whereas with Russ, they are tied to him now for only one season. So poor little baby Kenny Pickett got drafted in the first round, and now his feelings got hurt because he got hurt at the end of last year, and he had to watch Mason Rudolph start a playoff game, and then they signed Russell Wilson, and he's like, you know what? I don't want the smoke. I want out. I don't want to compete. I don't want to be here anymore because you chose someone over me. Entitled, crybaby, whiny loser. And now, no, he grew up an Eagles fan. This is what is this, like a Candyland, fantasy world? This is the real world, kid. If it were me, and I'm not a professional athlete, but you know what? I got the drive to succeed in my life. If it's me, and I'm Kenny Pickett, and they bring in Russell Wilson, you know what? I wake up every single morning, and I look in the mirror, and I say, it is my goal now, every day that I wake up, that this guy has to look in the mirror when he wakes up and say, why am I here? Because this guy's so good. What's the point of me being here? Because Kenny Pickett's so good. Because he's improved to this degree. It's Kenny Pickett's job in that situation to make the Pittsburgh Steelers regret this move that they made. To play so well in training camp and preseason that the fans clamor for him. That it becomes so painfully obvious that Pickett has to be the quarterback. Kind of like Russell Wilson did when the Seahawks drafted him in the 4th round in 2012, gave Matt Flynn a bag, and it became very apparent early on that Russell Wilson was the better option, and Russell Wilson started in week number 1. Make no mistake about it. This is Kenny Pickett taking his bag and going home. Taking the ball and going home. Oh, I grew up an Eagles fan. How fun is this now? I get to be the backup quarterback of the Eagles. Loser. Goodbye. See ya. If I'm a Steelers fan, I'm thrilled with this development. And honestly, as a backup quarterback, I think he's fine. I like the trade for both teams. I don't like him anymore, though. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm not saying he's like a bad person. But Ken, I don't like that from Kenny Pickett. Oh, they signed someone else. Now I want out. Be a man, Kenny. Compete. There's your hot take BS for the show. Because let's assume it's Caleb Williams is going to be the quarterback. Yeah. I don't think like Keenan Allen's like long for the NFL. Like he's getting up there in age, but he should be serviceable at least for this year with DJ Moore and like some good like Montez Sweat's awesome, 2 good young corners, like some cornerstone pieces on the offensive line. I don't like the head coach. I don't think Eberflus is that great, but I don't know, man. Their roster's going to be pretty good. Like what's the upside if they take Caleb Williams for the 2024 Bears?
I mean, I think it's like legitimate playoff contenders. Like it sounds crazy, but their defense in the second half of last season was top 10 in almost every single metric. If you get that, even remotely kind of similar, like we're talking top half of the league, defensive production for them, you add in Caleb Williams with a new offensive coordinator who's already shown to elevate previous, quarterbacks. We're looking at DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. I mean, just put him in the slot, let him get open against zone. Like he'll be fine. Like, he'll be able to run a couple of routes in the middle of the field, be a safety blanket for a quarterback, especially with Caleb Williams, who is, if you ever watched him play, likes to hold on to the ball, likes to force things downfield, giving him a blanket underneath that maybe he can go to a little bit more frequently, kind of like what we've seen with Patrick Mahomes over the last, year, and like being more comfortable checking the ball down. I think that is very much in play for him. Now with pick number 9, if they could add another wide receiver, I mean, that the potential is outrageously high as a rookie in this offense. I don't know if they're going to do that, but even you add an edge, like they're now able to capitalize and make their strengths even stronger instead of just adding like and drafting for need because they're totally in a bad spot, because they're really not in a bad spot at almost any position at this point.
Ken, I think this is going to be like the hype team of the offseason now. And then it's our job as bettors. It's going to say, okay, like what do we think about that? Like now what do we want to do as a result of this? So do you get that sense now with the Keenan Allen trade, the Bears trading a 4th-round pick to the Chargers for Keenan Allen, and like Caleb Williams probably coming up next month? Do you agree with that this is going to be like, if not a hype team? And what do you think you'd want to do if that's the case?
I think yes and no, right? I think one of the problems with that is I think the Packers are the hype team. And if we have to define what we mean by this too. I don't think anyone is going to say the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl like in the next 6 months. And if they are, they're like crazy delusional Bears fans. And everyone, even people that like the Bears would be like, oh, okay, like the Bears are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. They have a rookie starting quarterback. That's really unlikely. They have a coach that's accomplished nothing. Like that's really unlikely. If we're talking about just like, I like this team this year, then yeah, the Bears can be a team there are going to be a couple teams like that. But I think in their own division is the team that was like sneaky Super Bowl team. I think people are going to slot Green Bay into that because they're going to look at the AFC and say it's impossible. The Chiefs are almost certainly winning. And if they don't, there's 18 different first team all-pro potential quarterbacks that are there to take the spot. So I'm going to pick a team on the NFC and I'm not going to pick the team that made it last year. Well, that immediately restricts you to like 4 teams that you can pick as like your quote unquote sleeper. So that's the exercise everyone's going to do. And I think the name they're all going to come up with is the Packers. That's my guess. Jordan Love was awesome in the playoffs. The team's really young. Like it's just, that makes sense to me. So like the Packers are the answer to like if we're talking about the Super Bowl, if we're just talking about like watch out for this team, they can be relevant. Yeah, I could see the Bears being that team. The problem is just if I think people are on the Packers, then the Bears they're third in their own division without an option. I mean, they have to be at least third in their own division. So I guess we just have to kind of define like, what do we mean by that? And that I think probably the next step is like a win total conversation. Is this going to be a team that people are going to bet to go over a win total? What do we think that number is going to be? Then I think we're kind of in range of where people could have like positive, optimistic opinions and would actually want to make bets. But I don't think people like they draft Caleb Williams. I don't think you're going to see like the Chicago Bears are the most bet team in the NFC to win the conference. Like, I don't think you're going to see those tweets. I think you see them about the Packers, maybe. That would be my guess. Maybe you see them about a team like the Eagles, depending on how many, like if they add any more pieces. But I think it's going to be the Bears hype, I think, is restricted to just like feisty, sleeper, relevant team, not, go to the Super Bowl, hoist the Lombardi trophy, like that kind of stuff. I don't think that's where we're headed here.